From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, it's been nearly 1 year since COVID-19 made its way to the U.S. and more than 8 months since it crossed Montana's borders. As businesses struggle to make ends meet and millions of people remain unemployed, many Montanans are worried if and when more financial help is on the way. Tonight, congressional leaders hope to answer that question as they work to hammer out details for another COVID-19 stimulus bill. The current relief package passed last March to help millions of Americans and businesses is set to expire at the end of the year. Optimism is growing for a new bipartisan proposal that came to light this week. Republican Senator Steve Daines talked with Q2's Andrea Lutz today about what this new package could contain.
You're going to see a lot of similar pieces that we saw from that March care package. I think the bottom line is this. We're going to take what worked in March and continue to invest there. What didn't work, we won't.
Will we see another stimulus for individuals and families?
That's on the table in terms of looking at another stimulus check. That's something right now that both sides are looking at. I would guess that any package that passes Congress will also include some kind of stimulus check.
Daines also says on the table is more funding for small businesses and schools, PPE money for hospitals, clinics, and the Postal Service. He is opposed to any plan that includes money to help other states deal with financial issues that occurred before the COVID-19 outbreak. Well, Montanans unemployed due to the COVID pandemic will receive an additional $200 through the end of the year. The additional $25 million in relief comes from the leftover CARES Act funding that must be spent by the end of the year. Eligible Montanans are those who are unemployed or partially unemployed due to COVID-19 disruptions and receive unemployment benefits under the regular unemployment insurance, pandemic unemployment assistance, and pandemic emergency unemployment compensation programs. Last pay cycle, the Montana Department of Labor and Industry paid $8.6 million to around 20,000 individuals through their unemployment insurance programs. Well, individuals in need of unemployment can reach out to in need of employment can reach out to their local job service office for job openings and training opportunities. Well, in the last 24 hours, county health officials across Montana have reported 9 more deaths due to COVID-19 related illness. Those include 2 in each Yellowstone and Dawson counties and 1 in each Richland and Rosebud counties. As of this hour, MTN News reports a total of 751 Montana victims. Well, we've talked a lot about how this pandemic has impacted our lives, our schools, and those on the front lines of this difficult situation. But there's been another group that's been grinding out 12-hour days, missing family time, and taking a lot of the heat from frustrated and frightened people. As MTN's Jill Valley reports, they're the ones at your county health department.
They gear up, ready for battle, greeting cars of people who need to know if they've contracted coronavirus. They are gentle in their instruction, but firm in their belief what they're doing is vital to keeping Missoula safe and informed. There could be upwards of 100 people tested at the Missoula City County Health Department's Flynn Lane testing site in Missoula each day, run by healthcare professionals who know how important this is, even as it comes at a personal price.
Since August 3rd, I think I've had maybe a few days off, and that's including Saturdays and Sundays for the most part, so I don't see my family very much.
Nicole Lamro is the Patient Services Group Supervisor. She, like the others, puts in multiple 12-hour days a week. Now, it's not uncommon in the medical field, but these are uncommon times, and this has become more than just a second home. It's a place where coworkers are a second family.
We all rely on one another. We have a lot of meetings throughout the day to talk about issues and how we can make things better. Sometimes we just have to talk to one another and get it out because we're so stressed a lot of the time, just trying to keep up with the demands of this disease.
They work together as a team, sometimes talking nervous people through that COVID testing process or explaining the steps it takes to schedule a COVID test. And yes, they do sometimes receive pretty nasty phone calls from a fearful and frustrated public. They know people are on edge, which is why it's more important that they stick together and believe in the work they're doing.
We try and hold each other up as best we can and keep ourselves mentally and physically ready to do the job. It feels like it kind of waxes and wanes just about when you get to the point where you feel like you've got everything under control and it's at a level that you can manage. Something else happens or changes, or a new situation emerges that kind of throws you off kilter. So it's really hard to maintain not feeling stressed.
What keeps them going day after day, month after month? The knowledge that all of this, the stress, the long hours, the time away from home, matters to the people of Missoula in the middle of a pandemic.
I feel a duty to help this Missoula County and keep the health and safety of our community. Just be patient with us, that's it. Just be patient. We're growing, we're constantly changing and evolving with, the ups and downs of this pandemic.
In Missoula, Jill Valley, MTN News.
Thanks, Jill. Now, a vaccine is imminent but won't end the pandemic right away, so these teams all across our state remain vigilant to protect our health and their own. In other news tonight, a man gunned down outside a Billings church Monday night is now identified. Yellowstone County Coroner Cliff Mahoney says 30-year-old Manuel Martinez suffered multiple gunshot wounds to his torso. Martinez fell on the street on the 500 block of Broadwater Avenue, where a passing vehicle then ran him over. The suspect is still on the loose, and police do not have a description to share, but they do not believe the driver is related to the shooting. Well, now turning to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire. Well, we all know it gets very windy in Livingston, but just how high those gusts get, Bob?
Yeah, we just have to drive through Livingston once to realize, it's pretty windy. And this last November was one of the windier ones. Let me show you. How windy does it get in Livingston? Well, let's go take a look at some of the totals here. And as you see here, the November 2020 average wind speed in Livingston was 21.6 miles per hour. Now, that sounds a little low, but we got to remember that there's sometimes where the wind wasn't blowing once or two, a couple of minutes at night, and then it's back up again. But then take a look at this. This makes it the windiest November in Livingston since the year 2000 in over 20 years. That's amazing, isn't it? For Livingston, that's really saying something. The peak wind gust was 83 miles per hour on November 13th, and the maximum sustained wind, it was out of the southwest that same day, 71 miles per hour. That's just under a Category 1 hurricane. That's how windy it was in Livingston. And guess what? It's going to be windy there again tomorrow, but we are looking at some sunny skies moving in, and we'll chat about that in a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. I think I was driving through there that day. Well, though our forecast is looking nice for the next few days, winter will soon be upon us. Snow and ice can make getting from point A to point B difficult, and not just on our roads, but also on our rails. Luckily, BNSF Railroad has some interesting ways to keep its trains running, especially in the cold. Q2's Krista Rose takes a closer look.
Since the 1800s, railroads have been connecting us. And since the 1990s, BNSF Railway has been moving everything from groceries to medicine to automobiles. You name it, they move it, and they do it in all types of weather. Courtney Wallace is the Senior Director of External Communications at BNSF. I recently spoke to her via Zoom and asked her just how they keep the trains running in several feet of snow.
Winter weather in Montana happens every year. It happens for decades. We know this. This is something that we've been facing for, a few centuries now. And we always learn from, past winters, past experiences. And so we make sure that we have good plans in place. We have safe measures in place. More importantly than anything else is that we're moving goods safely, that our people are safe and our trains are safe.
BNSF is a huge Western railway with a lot of territory to cover. So having the right equipment in the right places to deal with inclement weather is key. But how do they actually clear the tracks?
We do have our rotary snowplows. They're actually pretty cool equipment. They're about 150 tons each, and what they're equipped with is this powerful 11-foot circular fan that can cut through deep and shifting snowdrifts. So, and our rotary snowplows play a crucial role in our winter action plans. We have several thousand switch heaters installed on our network, similar if you think about it like a electric blanket. And so those will help melt the snow in a very safe and efficient way.
They even have snow sheds or roofs that help shield the tracks from snow, essentially creating a tunnel for the trains to pass through. And BNSF employs a crew of avalanche specialists that work with the state and the national parks to monitor and mitigate avalanches in Montana. All in all, Mother Nature can be unpredictable, and it takes a dedicated and innovative team of railroaders to keep things moving.
We have some incredible people who are very humble, do not like to take compliments, but the work and effort that they do to keep this railroad running safely is always amazing to me, because it's not that our headquarters are in Fort Worth, but most of our folks live in the field. They live in Havre, they live in Glendive, they live in Great Falls, they live in all points in between. So Montana's home. And we have a lot of great people there who really care about the safety of the railroad, because that's where they live. It's where their families and their loved ones live.
Reporting in Billings, Chris DeRose, MTN News.
Thanks, Chris, and a big thank you to BNSF for sharing some of that great aerial footage. For more information on this story, head to KTVQ.com. Well, today, a big win for our community and its future. Not only did Hewlin Edward, a graduate of West High School, win a new $33,000 2020 Chevrolet Equinox today, our Billings Public Schools and school programs will get a big financial boost during this difficult year. Now, this raffle, made possible by the Education Foundation for Billings Public Schools, and of course the donation of a brand new vehicle from Denny Menholt Chevrolet, raised $85,220 for 40 school clubs, teams, and PTAs. That's $30,000 more than it raised last year.
It is super exciting to be able to have somebody get excited about winning a car and supporting education. So 100% of the $85,000 raised goes directly to education. We're so thrilled and thankful for Denny Menholt Chevrolet and their generosity to make this happen.
And again, the winner of the new SUV is Hewlin Edward, who graduated from West High, and it just so happens his dad is also a coach there. I think he's a teacher there as well. Well, a powwow drum group and a member of the Blackfeet Nation nominated for its 8th Grammy Award. The Black Lodge Singers, led by Blackfeet tribal member Kenneth Scabby Robe, are nominated for the Best Regional Roots Music Album. Scabby Robe has led the group for nearly 40 years, even though the group is based out of Yakima Nation in Washington State. Now, the Black Lodge Singers were first nominated back in 2000 for Best Native American Music Album. They say they've come a long way over the last 20 years.
I was 5 years old, that's my uncle got me started singing. And through that, it's something that our music don't have lyrics or anything, but I never thought like the Grammys would take music like that and recognize you.
And the Grammy Awards will air on January 31st. Well, up next on tonight's MTN 530 News here on Q2, the holidays have begun and those Christmas trees are going up. We'll have some helpful hints so you can enjoy lights and decorations safely this time of year. And tonight in sports, the Rocky Men preparing to tip off their 2020 campaign. We'll hear from the Battling Bears in just a bit.